Welcome to Module 3, Extrusion. In this module, we are going to learn about a new method of blocking, namely extrusion. Till now, our blocking philosophy had been that we initialized the block to the whole geometry and then made splits and deletion to capture the topology. However, we will learn a new method now. In this method called extrusion, the philosophy of blocking is different. We do not initialize the block to the whole geometry, but only to a smaller part of geometry. Maybe we can call this smaller part the base geometry. And then when we initialize the block to the base geometry, we instead of splitting the block, we would actually extend this base block or extrude this block to create new blocks and then capture the topology. So we are not initializing the block to the whole geometry. We are initializing only to a small geometry and then extending the face of that block or extruding that face to create new blocks which will capture the topology. We'll start with our first example, which will be a HVAC duct, a duct which is used to carry air-conditioned air in inside homes and offices. That geometry is tackled first in this module. So this is the geometry of HVAC duct. As you can see, we are calling it a duct because the cross-sectional is a rectangle and not a pipe. A pipe has a circular cross-section. And for the ease of tutorial, for a speedy tutorial, I have already created the parts. There are like outlets here, here, and here. There are 4 outlets here, and one of them and 1 inlet here. So 1 inlet here and 4 outlets, and rest of the surfaces are walls. Also, the points and the curves have been glued together in a separate part of their own, as has been the convention throughout this course. So without wasting any time, let's go on to blocking. So as I said, we will initialize the block. We'll initialize the block first because the extrude function works only after the initialization has been done. You cannot extrude from nothing. You have to create a block first. In fact, all these functions of creating block will work only after the initialization, that is the first function, has been done. So we will initialize the block in a new part name called fluid. But instead of keeping this entities box unoccupied, we will actually choose the entities. We will choose the base geometry for initialization. This is different from our previous examples where we initialized to the whole geometry. We will initialize only to a part of geometry which is called the base geometry. Now, choosing the base geometry is an important aspect of extrusion. In this geometry, we should look at a part of the geometry which can be extended to create the whole geometry. And if you will agree with me, this cuboidal shape here, this cuboid here, looks like a good candidate for our choice of base geometry because we can then extend the blocks here to create the full geometry. So we'll choose this geometry as our base geometry and initialize the block to fit this geometry only. So let's choose the select geometry option and let's choose the surfaces here. I will switch off the curve and points. And then select here and here. So we have initialized the block to a small part of the geometry which we think can be extended to create the whole geometry. So this is, and then I press middle click, then say apply. So we have initialized the block. Let's see how the initialized block looks like. And this is the initialized block. You see, it doesn't cover the whole of the geometry. So Now that the block has been initialized, the other options are available to us, and we'll choose the extrude option. So in extrude option also, there are many sub options. Extrude faces. Say we can extrude interactively or on a fixed distance, or extrude along curve. If we extrude a fixed distance, the extrusion will happen only perpendicular to the face. But if we extrude along curve, the face will try to match the curve. It need not be perpendicular. The face will try to match the shape of the curve. So this is our option of choice for extruding, extrude along curve. This is the best option. Then we will select there are three in extrude along curves. It requires three inputs: the face, the curve, and end point. The face, which is to be extruded, the curve along which the extrusion is to be done, and the end point, the point at which the extrusion will end. So these three options are required here. The extrude face, we will extrude this face here, this face here, then we'll click. The extrude curve, we will extrude along this curve because the geometry is along this curve, and end point here, we'll extrude till this end point, and then we'll click, and then I say apply. So you see a new block has been created by extruding this face along this curve. We'll go on, we'll select another face, and we'll select this face now, and we'll click and extrude curve. And then end point, and then say apply. So we see we have created one more block here by extrusion, and then let's go here. So we now need to extrude further here. So you may ask that we can extrude this face directly till here, but that means this face won't have any splits, but we need the splits because later on we need to extrude along this direction and this direction as well. So we will extrude till here, and so that we can get a split here, and then again extrude further, so that this face is divided into two parts. So I will select this face, middle click, extrude curve is here, and end point is here. We say apply. So we have extruded here, and then I can extrude along this direction and this direction. That's why initially I extruded only till here. So we select this face, extrude curve, then extrude point. So we have a new block here, and then again here as well. Extrude curve, end point. And then we will select face here, and then extrude curve, then end point here, and then say apply. So we get the block till here. And then we will extrude face here, then extrude curve. We'll select this curve, and we'll select this end point here, and then we will select another one, select face here, and extrude curve and end point. So you see we have been able to capture the geometry almost everywhere except this part is remaining. So to do this we will need to create a split here because we need to extrude a face here and we cannot extrude the full face, only a part of this. So we'll create a split here, then prescribed point is here. There's a apply. So we'll extrude. We have split the face here. Now we can create another. We can go for extrusion once more. We will select this face. We'll click extrude curve. This one, and then endpoint here. So we'll say apply, and then last block is remain. Last block remains. Say select face here. Sorry, let me give you a zoomed in view. So we select this face and then extrude curve here. Oh, sorry, this is the extrude curve. Unselect that. So we'll select this curve here. Select this face here and then the extrude curve here and then the endpoint here and say apply. So we have been dismissed. Wait. So you see we have been able to create a block which captures the topology very easily. So we will begin our, so we hardly did any deletion or any splitting except perhaps once here, and we were very easily able to capture the topology. That is the power of extrusion method. It helps you to capture the topology very easily if the geometry is amenable to extrusion. So we will begin our associations now. Let us on the curves here, go to associate. So edge here, there are too many curves in this particular model, so that's why association takes a little bit of time. Please bear with me. So we have completed the association finally. I skipped showing the whole process of association to make this video succinct. So I have associated the edges to their respective curves. There's nothing to write home about here. And then let me assign the edge parameters. So I will go and copy parameters. It says 16 here, and then 4 here, 4 here as well. Say 4 here. Six here. it seems that I have been able to assign the nodes. I will do a quick check. It seems that the association here can do with a little bit of work. Yeah. Now I switch on the pre-mesh after checking the counts and the association. Let me switch off the edges and say solid and wire. So it seems that we have been able to capture the topology. We have been able to capture the topology quite easily using this extrusion approach. Maybe here something gone missing. Let me check. Let's do project vertices to improve the capture. Switch on the vertices. Apply. So here we see this vertex should be here, and so I will associate this vertex to the point. This will help capture the geometry better. Let's do a pre-mesh. So you see the geometry has been captured better. We can improve our edge distribution, of course. The mesh looks a little coarse. We can improve our let's associate this vertex to this point. vertex to this point and now the geometry capture has improved. You see, we were able to capture the geometry very nicely without making any splits or anything, just by extrusion. That's the power of extrusion. If the geometry is amenable towards extrusion, then it becomes very easy. We can make we can do we can improve the edge distribution here. Mesh again, and the edge has improved. So this is how the geometry looks like, fairly easy. Had we followed our usual process of initializing the block and then splitting and deletion, it would have been very difficult. But extrusion has made it fairly easy. We can